Welcome to episode 14 of Through the Whistle. I'm, as always, your host, Ty Belcher. And on today's episode, we have a lot to talk about, especially since there won't be another episode until Friday. So, with that being said, on today's episode, we're going to talk about a very, very, very wild Saturday in college football, which included me shattering a phone. We'll also talk about a couple NFL games from yesterday, as well as talking about tonight's Monday Night Football game. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and start off with a very surprising weekend in college football. I know on Friday, I was talking about there's not a lot of games, very much of a snooze fest slate, aside from the two Pac-12 matchups. But they said, Ty, what are you talking about? It's college football. Anything can happen. So kids in college, they get random. They get very random. So, 6 of the top 7 teams were in tough games. Only team that wasn't in a very close game at all was LSU, because they beat the dog crap out like UAB. You know, like I was talking about on Friday, SEC and these cupcake schedules at the end of the season is beyond me. So let's start off with the team that made me break my phone, and that is the Michigan Wolverines. I know I said I was going to leave. I was going to keep my biases and my favorite teams to a minimum until later in the show, later episodes. So I said that episode 1. But it's Ohio State week. It's time for me to let my colors fly. Michigan almost broke my heart on Saturday. Losing to Illinois. If you know me personally, you know I have a very special place in my heart for Illinois because of what Juice Williams was able to do back in 2007 by beating up Ohio State. But Michigan, number one in my heart, always. They wanted me to have a heart attack. So first half, kind of steadfast, same usual Michigan stuff. We're about to score, and I literally texted in a group chat with me and a couple other Michigan fans, like my friend Wade, Raymond, and BJ. I'm talking about like, hey, we gotta start pulling some of these guys out. Telling my friend Noah, my friend Noah, we're talking about, yeah, we might as like, if Cade was healthy, I let Cade just go out there and spin it a little bit, try to keep guys healthy for next week. And no more than like probably 5 minutes later, Blake Corum goes down. And when I tell you my mouth dropped, I didn't know what to do. I was like, oh, this can't get any worse. Blake goes down right before halftime with a minute left. I want to say somewhere around a minute left. He had 108 yards and a touchdown before he went down. And when I tell you, I just don't know a better term for this, but shit hit the fan. Michigan couldn't move the ball. JJ, 18 of 34, 208 yards. I just don't know. He was a little bit above 50% passing completion wise. Run game was non-existent. We kept trying to force feed 23. And 23 couldn't freaking run the ball against a JV line. He was getting thrown around like a freaking ragdoll, like a scout team. And I thought we were going to lose. I thought Michigan was going to lose. When 41 dropped the pass, I had my phone in my hand, no case, threw it out the wall, back of the phone shattered. It was a bad day. But we kicked the field goal, get the ball back, we end up winning the game. When I tell you, this game was so bad, like, it was just so bad. Like, JJ had a throw to Andrew Anthony, number 1. And it was probably the best ball I've seen JJ throw all season. He's trying too hard not to mess up. When us Michigan fans, the whole time we were, cheering for JJ to start over Cade and all this other stuff, we all were like, because sometimes you just gotta be willing to say F it and just throw caution to the wind and just throw a ball. But when I tell you, And Andrew Andy dropped that ball on 4th down, which would have been a touchdown. Hit him straight through the hands. I wanted to scream. I did scream. But Michigan pulls out the win, barely. At one point, I was like, I don't care if we lose because, we got Ohio State next week. It doesn't matter. We'll be playing for the number 2 spot regardless. But Michigan was just finding any way possible to make me sweat this last probably like 3 weeks. Like, inexcusable. Play calling has to get better. It has to be better. If we have the same type of play calling we did Saturday, this past Saturday against Illinois, this Saturday in the Horseshoe, I'm going to be in the stadium crying. Just like tears rolling down the eyes. I'm going to look like the Jordan meme. So, let's talk about that other team that we have to play against. The team from Columbus, I guess. No. Number 2 team in the nation. Ohio State. So, Ohio State played Maryland. And early in the season, any of you Michigan fans can attest to this. Ohio State was talking a lot of stuff about Michigan being a close game against Maryland. Like, you guys are the close game against Maryland. Y'all suck, blah, blah, blah. And then this past Saturday happens. Where they let Talia Tagovailoa, baby Tua, go 26 of 36 with 293 yards. In a game that was basically 36-30 final. Because I'm not counting the little turnover that Talia had last play of the game. I don't care about that. What do you, this double standard that Ohio State fans have is just so insane. It's like, we struggle against Maryland, and we suck. Y'all struggle against Maryland, and it's because we're looking forward to y'all. No. Not happening. Not letting the excuse fly. Not happening. Ohio State may have found a diamond in the rough with their freshman, Hayden. Hayden had a absolutely phenomenal game. Had about 150 yards rushing, and it was probably the best rushing performance from Ohio State running back this whole season. And that's probably the only positive I would have from this game. This pass defense that everybody said Ohio State got so much better in got tore up for 293 yards. But I thought y'all said y'all's pass defense got better. And CJ, only 18 of 30 for 241 yards. So I'm not understanding. I thought y'all were these world beaters who were just going to blow everybody out. Not understanding. Doesn't make sense. So with both Ohio State and Michigan being in very, very, very tightly contested games, this upcoming Saturday is going to be very interesting. Michigan, we don't know. We're going to have Blake. We're definitely going to have Donovan Edwards back. Definitely going to have Schoonmaker back. I just don't know. Ohio State, still think their defense is very susceptible to the run. Still think Ohio State has receivers that can exploit Michigan's defense, RDBs. So it's just going to be who can stop who first, who can be more sustainable. I feel like if Michigan dominates time of possession like we did last year, we're going to win. We're no questions about it. We dominate the run game, we're going to win. We dominate time of possession, we're going to win. It's as simple as that. It's all as simple as can we execute. And that's going to be the topic of the week, the topic going into the game. Can Michigan execute and keep the ball out of Ohio State's hands? Because if we're not going to win in the shootout against Ohio State. I am willing to admit that. We won't win in the shootout against Ohio State. Our passing game isn't to that level where we can do that. We have to keep the ball out of CJ's hands, keep the ball out of Ohio State's hands, keep it out of Marvin's hands, because, oh my God, Marvin Harrison. Phenomenal. I'll give him his flowers. Marvin Harrison Jr. is a great player. But Michigan needs to dominate time of possession. Simple as that. do what we did last year with Hassan, a little bit of Blake, a little bit of Donovan last year, but we need to get that same engine going. So let's pivot down to the SEC with the number 1 team in the nation, Georgia, winning a very close one against Kentucky. Kentucky, who doesn't really play good against good teams, but every dog has their day. They're able to keep it close, contain Georgia's defense, contain Georgia's offense, and keep them to only 1 touchdown, which I know I quitted a lot of it earlier this season to Georgia's just sleepwalking, all this other stuff. But if Georgia tries to sleepwalk against Georgia Tech, it's going to be a long game. Georgia Tech is very physical, can block their butts off. And we just saw that with Georgia Tech beating UNC this past weekend. So Georgia Tech has nothing to lose in this game. Georgia has a whole lot to lose. So Georgia is going to have to tighten up, even if it's just for a half, get up early, take the run game away from Georgia Tech, and they should be fine. 1, 2, 3, Cancun. Let's get to playing LSU. But elsewhere in the SEC, about I don't know how many hours it is to South Carolina. South Carolina and Spencer Rattler. Oh my goodness. Did they kick Tennessee's teeth in or what? Tennessee, like I've been saying since the Alabama game, Tennessee's defense sucks. DBs suck. I said earlier, weeks ago, Ohio State would put up 60 against them. And now that I just saw that South Carolina can put up 63 points against them, Ohio State would have put up probably 80 if they wanted to. Let Marvin, let Jackson Smith and Jigba, let Emeka Ibuka go out there and just all go routes, because they can't guard anybody. Just all go routes every play, straight fades, just go. Tennessee's defense has been holding them back all season long. I know in the Georgia game it looked kind of close, only held them to, I want to say, 28 points. But if it wasn't for the rain, they probably get 42 put on their heads. Bad. I'm not talking about Doug either. 42 points on their head. But the main thing the worst part about Saturday for Tennessee is them losing Hendon Hooker, their Heisman hopeful, a guy who was probably a first round guy in this upcoming draft, but he tears his ACL after he puts up 3 touchdowns trying to keep the game close, tears his ACL. Now Joe Milton's elevated back into the starting lineup. As a Michigan fan, I know all about Joe Milton, all about his shortcomings, but Hendon Hooker being gone for the season, it's just heartbreaking because in a way it's like, dang, I wish he wasn't out there because, injuries are such a negative part of the sport and all these other things, but Tennessee still had a chance at the playoffs, so he had to be out there, So seeing stuff like that makes me question if, dang, is Bryce going to play next week? So I'm Bryce Young, I'm like, whoa, I'm not about to put my body on the line and lose out on probably being a first-round pick to play against Auburn with nothing on the line, nothing to play for, essentially. So if I'm a top guy elsewhere, looking at that game, I'm just like, hey, I might have to pull the curtain. I might be out of here. So seeing a guy like Hendon Hooker go down, hopefully he gets a speedy recovery. Hopefully he's still able to go in the first round, hopefully even second day. But it's a sad way to see such a great talent at Tennessee in his career. But back on the brighter note, on the brighter side of things, Spencer Rattler went out there. I don't know how many of y'all are fans of QB1, the series, but Spencer Rattler looked like he, hopped back in the bag that we saw at Oklahoma during the pandemic year, when he would come in for little short spurts every once in a while. Spencer almost had as many touchdowns as he had incompletions. He was 30 of 37, 438 yards, and 6 touchdowns. I was like, hey, Spencer might be back. If he can put it together probably as well as this game against Tennessee, if he can have a big game against Clemson, I'm 95% sure he can throw his hat back in to being a top 3, top 4 guy in this upcoming draft. Not top 4 guy as a whole, but top 4 quarterback drafted this upcoming draft. But South Carolina's going to have to refocus really quick turnaround, get their minds back right. Don't get too high in the highs, don't get too low in the lows. Wise words from Chuck Gresham. They can't get too high off this win because there's an even bigger opponent this week in Clemson. Clemson, who handled business. Clemson, who has a whole new world perspective now that Tennessee's lost, has a chance at the college football playoff again. They're going to try to come in there and handle business at home. Maybe DJ Uiagalelei's last game as a Clemson Tiger. You never know. South Carolina, maybe they can, capture this lightning in the bottle, open it back up again this upcoming Saturday against Clemson. But it's going to be interesting. If Spencer Rattler can play like this again, it's going to be a very, very good game in Death Valley. So from South Carolina, we're going to move over to the great state of Texas. TCU beat Baylor on a last-second field goal. And when I tell you it was probably one of the most random plays I've ever seen. TCU runs the ball with 20 seconds left, with no timeouts either. They down the ball, and they get off the field and run into a whole chaotic moment. Run off the field. Field goal team comes on. Kicker nails it. 29-28 win. TCU survives and advances. Now, with Tennessee being out the way, Ohio State, Michigan, neither of them looking very dominant the last several weeks. TCU's literally surviving advance, just like the NCAA tournament in basketball. They keep winning. It's literally, we'll see them probably in the Fiesta Bowl in the college football playoff. So next week they have Iowa State. Well, this upcoming weekend they have Iowa State. Iowa State, very down year, but they're coming into TCU, coming into Fort Worth. Don't see TCU losing that game at all. But crazier things have happened, aka this past Saturday. So enough about the Big 12. No one cares about the Big 12. I'm sorry. No offense. I love you, Big 12. I care about y'all. But out in the Pac-12, USC and UCLA did not disappoint anybody. Caleb Williams started off really slow. Had an interception in the first quarter. USC missed field goal. It was just looking like, hey, Ty, but lose your tuition twice, back-to-back weeks, losing your tuition. But no, they said, Ty, we got you. You're not going to lose your tuition today. I said, thank you. Because Caleb went out there and proved why he is a top 2 quarterback in the nation right now. Why many people believe that Caleb Williams came out and declared for the draft this year, he'll be the number 1 overall pick. He came out there and proved why USC is back. This man had a masterclass performance through 3 quarters. I don't care about the first quarter. But in totality, this man had a masterclass performance. 32 of 43, 500 total yards, and 3 total touchdowns. In a 48-45 win against a top 15 team. And like I said, prognosticator Ty, just a little prognostication. I told y'all, USC's defense is very opportunistic. They will force turnovers. Even though they'll give up yards, they will force turnovers to give USC another chance on offense. So, with that being said, Dorian, I don't have don't have it in me to say his full name. DTR went out there 4 touchdowns, but he had 3 costly turnovers, 3 interceptions, one of which came on the last drive of the game. DTR, great guy, very big fan of him, but UCLA, too many turnovers late. I personally would rather see UCLA in the Rose Bowl than Oregon or Utah. But that's just me personally. Big fan of DTR, that's why. So DTR and UCLA still actually has a chance of making the playoffs. Well, I mean, not making the playoffs, but making the Pac-12 championship game in a rematch against USC. Because if Oregon loses to Oregon State, you know what? Never mind. We'll talk about Oregon State later after this next game. But UCLA, great season, great story. Big fan of DTR still. Shout out to Zach Charbonnet. Chip Kelly proved a couple of times why he was widely considered one of the best offensive minds in the whole world at one point when he was with Oregon. It's just, if UCLA can find a defense, like, it will be over. Like, let's say, for instance, UCLA can be merged with Michigan's defense. Put those teams together. Oh, my God. Probably have the best team ever created. Best team ever created. But elsewhere, USC clinches their spot in the Pac-12 championship game. Elsewhere, about 2 states north, or they don't say 2 states north, Oregon beats Utah. Even though Bo Nix was hurt, game time decision, but we all knew Bo Nix wasn't missing that game. He could go out there not having any movement in his left arm. He was going to play that game. Bo had 300 total yards, 2 touchdowns. And I said on Friday's episode that if you can force Cam Rising to throw the ball, you will be fine. And once again, just take off my genie hat, because Cam Rising went out there and threw 3 interceptions. The game was way closer than I expected. I know. A lot of costly turnovers. Over with a hit. But it's okay. Happens. But now Oregon, after this win against Utah, is now in a win and they're into the Pac-12 championship game. Oregon is playing Oregon State. Oregon State, who honestly should have beat USC, but we're not going to talk about that. Like, Oregon State matches up very well against Oregon. Their DBs are good. They're lengthy. They're just good. Like, I just don't know how else to explain it. Like, their defense is actually good. Like, put Oregon State's defense with USC's offense, and it would just be match made in heaven. Best team to ever come up the Pac-12 since the 05 USC Trojans, probably. I don't know. But Oregon, hey, the Civil War. There's a lot to play for in the Civil War this weekend against Oregon State. If I'm not mistaken, if Oregon loses, UCLA wins, I think UCLA would make the Pac-12 championship game because of UCLA having the head-to-head over Oregon, they would have the head-to-head over Oregon. Wait, no, they wouldn't. Because UCLA has the win over, I don't know, Pac-12 is weird. But if I'm not mistaken, since I think UCLA has a win over Washington, or I might be tweaking. But if Oregon loses, there's it's going to be absolute chaos in the Pac-12. I don't know who will make it and play USC, but hey, Pac-12 is getting real interesting. Hopefully for the Pac-12's sake, Notre Dame doesn't lose. But a team who does is, fingers crossed, praying that Notre Dame beats USC is Clemson. So Clemson handled business this past weekend. Clemson was sitting back watching Tennessee, watching them lose, watching Ohio State, Michigan struggle, and we're like, oh, we have a chance. Like, we can get back in this. We can get back in there into the playoff conversation. but we're going to need a little bit of help. That help being, they need Michigan to get blown out. That's the only way. This is what they need, in my opinion, to make the college football playoff. They need Michigan to get blown out against Ohio State, because if it's a close game, if Michigan keeps it close and they lose, Clemson, I don't think Clemson will get the nod over them since they got blown out by Notre Dame. And if Ohio State loses, which they will, if Ohio State loses to Michigan, you can't put Clemson above them because Clemson lost to Notre Dame and Ohio State beat Notre Dame, so you got to keep them above there. They also, so aside from needing Michigan to lose, USC needs to lose to Notre Dame to both make Notre Dame look even better, make the loss not look as bad. They also will take USC out of conversation, drop them out of the playoff completely from 5 to out. Then they also need LSU to lose. So if Michigan loses, Michigan gets blown out, USC loses, and LSU loses. Number 4, look, we got Clemson back in there. DJ Uiagalelei is back in the good graces of all Clemson fans across the world. But a lot of these things aren't going to happen. Michigan's not losing to Ohio State. Sorry. DJ, sorry. Michigan is not losing to Ohio State. Ohio State's going to get in over y'all. Sorry to break it to you. But we'll talk a little bit more about possible scenarios for the college football playoff on Friday's episode and what needs to happen for certain teams to make it and all this other stuff and all that other good jazz. So we're about 30 minutes into the episode. We're going to hit our first break. And on the other side of the break, we're talking about the NFL, talking about how Kirk Cousins sucks, talking about how Justin Herbert's not a franchise guy, and talk a little bit about tonight's Monday Night Football matchup. So make sure you stay tuned through the whistle. Welcome back into episode 14 of the Through the Whistle podcast. And let's just go ahead and get right into the NFL. The NFL had a lot of anticlimactic games yesterday, one of which being the Cowboys and Vikings. The Cowboys came in as a third-place team in the NFC East, even though they only had, 3 losses on the season, while the Vikings came in as the NFC North leader, 1-loss team, coming up a big win against the Bills. And I told y'all, get defensive. We get real aggressive right now. I told y'all Kirk Cousins sucks. There was no way that they were going to win 2 games against a team that was actually decent/good. Kirk Cousins now improves to a whopping 11-41 against teams above 500. I don't care that you're doing the skull chant. I don't care. Kirk Cousins is not good. He's not that guy. He's not a franchise guy. Never has, never will be. But the main story, aside from Kirk Cousins being 12 of 23, only 105 yards when you have a top 3 receiver in the league. But, who cares about that? We already knew Kirk Cousins poops the bed when he plays at any other kickoff besides 1 p.m. If he plays at 4, 8, 7, he's going to suck. But we're not here to kick Kirk Cousins while he's down. We're not here to kick him while he's down. It's not very respectable. I'm a respectable man. So let's just talk about how the Cowboys kicked the Vikings' teeth in. I said the Vikings were very susceptible to the pass. So Tony Pollard said, okay, I'll do both. Tony Pollard for the Cowboys had 189 total yards, 109 on the ground, 80 passing yards, 80 receiving yards through the air, and 2 receiving touchdowns. And you're probably like, Ty, why are you always talking about Tony Pollard? Because Tony Pollard saved me in fantasy this week. It's a great day. Justin gave me no points. Because, like I said, Kirk Cousins sucks. I have it written down right here. Kirk sucks. So I had Tony Pollard go in there and pick up the slack. But back on a more serious note, the Cowboys are in a very great situation right now. They're going against the Giants on Thursday on Thanksgiving in their usual Thanksgiving game. If they beat the Giants, they'll sweep the season. All the Giants have the head-to-head tiebreaker over them, which will essentially solidify them as at least the second-place team in the division, especially with the Giants losing to the Detroit Lions. It's a very bad weekend for me. Didn't break my phone off that game, though, so progress. But with the Eagles looking kind of shaky the last couple weeks, not been kind of looking shaky, Cowboys are in a nice position to hopefully, even maybe, get a top 2 seed since they now have the head-to-head over the Vikings. Vikings lose one more and they have the tie. Well, Cowboys get it. So there is a world that we live in that the Dallas Cowboys will make it to the divisional round in the playoffs, which is very surprising because the Cowboys don't win playoff games. So they'll be one win away from the NFC Championship game, which will be very interesting to see how they end up losing that game because the Cowboys do not make it to the NFC Championship game ever. In my whole entire lifetime of being alive, again, my lifetime, I have never seen the Cowboys in the NFC Championship game. And I want to keep it that way. Just let all the hate and animosity just keep brewing. As Cowboys suck. Forget the Cowboys. But elsewhere in an actual good game, in a game that included 2 top 10 quarterbacks, and what was essentially a divisional championship game, the Chiefs took on the Chargers. When I tell you, watching that game yesterday, I know everybody already knew, oh yeah, Travis Kelce, top 2 tight end ever. I think yesterday just solidified Travis Kelce as the best tight end, the greatest tight end in NFL history. Travis Kelce is literally unstoppable. He had 6 catches for 115 yards and 3 touchdowns. That is a great game, an exceptional game. You can't get any better than that. I think that Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce has. I don't think they need another Super Bowl to solidify it, but I think Patrick and Kelce are just probably the best duo we've ever seen in NFL history for over a substantial amount of time because that Randy Moss and Brady duo was crazy for the 2-year span that they had together. But Patrick and Kelce, unstoppable. They're a better duo than peanut butter and jelly. No offense to all the people out there who are allergic to peanut butter. But that duo is just insane. There's no stopping them. Chiefs, hey, unless they play Miami in Miami, I don't see the Chiefs losing in the playoffs. Sadly, it feels like we're on track to see another Patrick Mahomes Super Bowl. But, like I said a couple weeks ago, I am willing to admit when I am wrong. Kevon, whenever you watch this, I admit that I was wrong. Now I'm a hater. I've told you that. I'm a hater. But Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. And he's going to make it back to the Super Bowl again. But you're going to have to disagree with me on this next one. Justin Herbert is not a franchise guy. Oh my goodness. Y'all heard me harp on it not only on Thursday, but on Friday too. I said Justin cannot win a big game. I said Justin cannot be a good team. So let's backtrack. Let's go back to Thursday. Yeah, Thursday. I told y'all a very interesting stat. Justin Herbert, 0-3 against teams above 500. You know what he did? He said, Ty, you're wrong. You're wrong. I'm not 0-3. I'm going to one-up you on this one, Ty. He said, I'm going to go 0-4. Justin Herbert is now 0-4 in games against a team that is 500 or better this season. What do y'all want me to do? Y'all want me to They hold his hand is year 3. Like, come on. It's year 3. When are you going to win games? You know the little meme where it's like the guy poking something with a stick? It's like, hey, win a game. Beat a good team. Justin, please. Drafted you top 5. Win a big game. And I'm just going to read off every quarterback who has multiple wins against teams that are above 500. Patrick Mahomes. He has 2 against the Chargers. He can't count the Chargers anymore because they're 500. They suck. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, Thomas Edward Patrick Brady, Aaron Rodgers, even though he's having a down year, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa. It's 8 guys, all who can win. 8 guys who all can win against good teams. And then there's Justin at 0. Geno Smith even has wins against teams above 500. Zach Wilson has wins against teams that are above 500. Wait, what's the excuse now? You essentially lost the division yesterday because Kansas City has a 4-game lead. If you think Kansas City is going to lose 4 of their next 7, you're crazy. This is not happening. 4 and 3, like 3 and 4, in the next 7 games, it's not happening. Especially when those games include 2 against Denver, who suck, and 1 against the Raiders, who also suck. So Kansas City clinches the division again. AFC West still runs through Kansas City, even though people like me believed in the Chargers and Justin Herbert to take a big jump this season, especially with all the offseason moves, with adding JC, adding Khalil Mack, having a healthy Derwin James. This still cannot happen. Kansas City refuses to be dethroned. Patrick Mahomes still, what is it, 25 straight games won in both November and December, which is a very impressive stat. No matter how much I want to hate on him, that is a very, very, very impressive stat. So, sadly, I have to start getting mentally prepared for a Patrick Mahomes Super Bowl again. Only positive is, you get to see Travis Kelce back out there. Ohio's probably the best football player from Ohio, technically. And, since my generation, in my lifetime, I'm not going to say ever, because, Charles Woods and Desmond Howard, all these other great players. But Travis Kelce is the best player to come from Ohio in my lifetime. And it's always good to see him in the Super Bowl. Only if he had a different quarterback, that'd be way better. But on the other hand, that just concludes the whole Sunday debacle. Yesterday, very anticlimactic games. Especially a lot of games that just, it was ugly football yesterday. It's very ugly football. Including my Giants against the Detroit Lions. But who cares? No one cares. It's okay. It's NFL. No one cares. In tonight's Monday Night Football game, we have the Arizona Cardinals, without Kyler Murray, facing the San Francisco 49ers in Mexico City. And I'm going to be really quick about this. No Kyler Murray. Niners are going to cover the 10-point spread. Niners are about to kick them in their teeth. Get the heck out of there. Let's go back home, get some turkey, get some mac and cheese, get some yams, get some greens, cornbread dressing, all that. They're going to go back home after they kick the Cardinals' butt, and they're going to be chilling. Like, there's not much for me to say. Cardinals suck. We all know this, especially without Kyler Murray. How are you going to expect them to win? San Francisco covers a 10-point spread easily. Christian McCaffrey masterclass tonight. Probably about 125 yards total. 125 total yards tonight. Brandon Ayuk probably gets about 75. Debo probably gets about, I don't know. It might be a very light game for Debo Samuel today. Probably only 60 yards total. Might chill a little bit. But Niners win, get even closer to, NFC West champion. Like, there's not really much for me to say. Like, there's no analysis for me to give because the Cardinals are just not a good team, especially without their star quarterback. And you're going to tell me Colt McCoy's going to win them a game? You're lying. Like, they're not beating the Niners. Nick Bosa, masterclass tonight. Might get 2.5 sacks tonight. If he gets 2.5 sacks, I need, some money in the Cash App. But that concludes episode 14 of Through the Whistle. There will not be another episode until Friday, due to Wednesday being my birthday. If you guys want to drop some birthday love in the comments. Also, will not be recording on Thanksgiving because, obvious reasons. It's Thanksgiving. Want to spend time with family. So we'll be back on Friday. Me and Kevon will probably be on that episode. Great episode ahead on Friday. Hopefully, me and him know how to get in a fight because of how his views on Ohio State being. I don't want to talk about Ohio State. Beef is up. But it's going to be interesting on Friday because, Giants play the Cowboys on Thursday. And I'm going to go ahead and tell y'all. I'm going to just go ahead and tell y'all what I think how that's going to go. Daniel Jones, primetime game. Everybody's going to be watching. Giants are going to lose. Bills are going to beat the crap out of the Lions. Easy. Josh Allen probably goes for 275-ish yards. Probably about 283 when it's all said and done. Cowboys are going to kick the Giants' teeth in on prime time. Daniel Jones sucks when it matters. And then, yeah, that's just everything that's going to happen. I want to say the Patriots play on Thursday too, but no one cares about the Patriots. Get them out of here. But like I said, episode 14 of Through the Whistle is now done. We'll be back on Friday with episode 15. Me and Kevon will. And you guys stay safe. Have a great Thanksgiving. Travel safe. Stay warm. And make sure you eat enough turkey to stay up and watch the games. Big week ahead of us. Through the Whistle, episode 14.